Good afternoon. Well, it's actually good afternoon, Mark, because you're the only one that's joined us today. But good afternoon to everybody who is too stressed and overwhelmed to join us for itchy Christmas cheer. Anybody who's thinking about wearing tinsel, strongly recommend you don't. Um, Full of fun facts and completely unprofessional banter this afternoon. Welcome. My name is Tinsel Nick, also known as Nick Dyson, and I'll be leading this afternoon's session along with my favorite reindeer, Kate, Santa, Dan, Amy in Christmas red, and Jared flying in from the west with lots of tinsel joy and Holly also here as well. Before we kick off, I just want to take some time to acknowledge the traditional owners on the land in which we live, work, play, learn, and create. Our first innovators, our first creators, our first educators. We're so grateful to work with more than 300 schools across Australia, finding ourselves on lots of different First Nations lands all year round. And so we just want to take some time to acknowledge wherever you're watching this from. Probably at this time of the term, maybe under a desk, hypothetically, with your eyes closed, dreaming of sweet holidays, which are very, very soon. When Dan and I were chatting about what we were going to do for the last live learning, I have to be candid and say the thought of trying to organise guests was too much for us. And so we thought we would just talk rubbish for 45 minutes. So welcome. If you've just started watching this recording, I suggest you put this on 1.5 speed because I reckon you'll probably get all of the key messages that you need while still speeding this up. But the purpose of today is for us to nerd out on a few things that we've loved. It's so itchy, guys. I can't even, if you're watching this. Tinsel is so itchy. For us to nerd out a little bit on what we've loved reading, watching, or listening to this year, and perhaps selfishly for me, get a few more books to add to my Christmas reading pile over the holidays. A few of us have rated bookshelves. Kate's pretending she reads on her phone. Her phone? I'm just messing with you. And so we'll do a little bit of a random share around maybe something that we would recommend, and no doubt probably divulge into hanging crap on each other for our reading choices. I suspect that's where this afternoon will go. So I want to front load this and say this is a safe place, but it's probably not. And so share at your own peril, because I take no responsibility for what happens after you. And I'm looking at you, Kate, because I know that sometimes late at night, your reading becomes a little bit questionable, and it kind of, that chick lit line folds into, it's a little bit on the line, I will say. But I look forward to you sharing regardless. So we're going to do a very structured way of working out who's going to go first. Very serious, structured way. Nose goes. Oh, Jared, I'm sorry to say, sir, you were the slowest nose goes.
Easy peasy. Let's start off. My recommendation is The Overstory by Richard Powers. That's kind of showing up. It's a nice book with trees on the front, and it's all about trees. It follows multiple different characters you kind of see one, you revisit them later across the story, and it's all about people's connection with trees. So you've got environmentalists trying to protect the trees, scientists trying to research them, people looking at trees in online worlds, young people in their connection with trees, all really cool stuff. And they're just so many cool science facts in it. And I learned heaps about nature and trees from it. So there's some really cool stuff, like trees and their root systems supporting each other, and healing each other. Like trees from multiple kilometers apart in massive rainforests can actually send signals and kind of energy to each other and help trees repair. When giraffes come through a certain type of tree in a forest, they actually send out smell signals to each other to alert trees deeper in the forest that a giraffe's coming to eat them. Crazy. And there's some still trees that are living that are 3,000 years old. There's lots of cool fun science facts. I thought this one wouldn't get laughs. I thought this was an intelligent read. Guess not. It is to try and save myself. It is Pulitzer Prize winning with There's a Stick there, so you can't judge me too hard. I have defense from the ivory tower.
Do you know what I will say on Goodreads? It has 192,000 ratings. So, yeah, and a 4.1. So I feel like that's like a solid endorsement, as much as I'm giggling about the giraffes. But I feel like that was a strong start. Jared, you get to pick who goes next because you were the tribute.
Oh, okay, easy. We'll go down to Kate. We'll go down my screen.
I was just about to say something nice about the tree book, and now maybe I'll retract it. I'm not sure. I had no criticism of the tree book, and I reckon I would read it and really like it. What I was super amused about is that this will be such a great capture of why we're such a great team, is because we're all going to bring very different energy to this. And now I'm wondering if, like, Mick's already called me out for my preferences. I had chosen one of my more like,
It's a safe place.
well, I had chosen one of my more like highbrow options, but now I'm wondering if I should just really like dig in
Just
and
sit
just
in.
do the one that I probably want to. So maybe I should pivot. I don't know. Or just do two. I was going to talk
What
about
the hell
Bear
is
Town.
this?
I think you've read, haven't you, Nick? Bear Town?
Oh, yeah. Yeah.
Yeah. So that was, of all the books I read this year, there was only two that probably three that sit outside of the like slightly trashy genre. One of them is Bear Town and the other two Nick recommended to me. So like I feel like that's maybe cheating a little bit. But I did love Bear Town. So it was basically about this ridiculously tiny town where ice hockey is like life. And the main protagonist was like he'd made it to Canada to play in like a pro team, then he got injured and he come back to be the general manager of the team. So it's kind of about, yeah, it's about small towns, but what happens, there's, not to give away too much, but there's an issue to do with like sexual assault. And so obviously in a town where everyone hero worships, this is really hard to talk about looking like a reindeer. I've just caught myself in the middle. But trigger warning. But no, it's really, so it's about like, you know, this town where the young men who actually have talent are like hero worshipped for their ability to play ice hockey and how much they get away with. And having taught in North Queensland where rugby league was it, and same even here in the Redlands, like you know, boys that are good at sport in Australia definitely get away with stuff that they wouldn't if they didn't have this talent. And so I really liked that. And it was just beautiful writing and really interesting. And I was like, although I must admit, for the first half of the book, I thought I knew how it would end, and I was really angry about it. Like I was reading it thinking it was going to go a certain way, and it didn't. So it was a satisfying conclusion and a good book. And no smut. Sorry.
Yeah, I concur. I also really enjoyed that read. I think Frederick Backman, who's the author, if you ever dig into a few of his books, are really well written books. But it's like an emotional roller coaster, that one. Like you feel angry and then you feel sad, and then like it really takes you on a bit of a journey, which I think was what made it so beautifully well written.
I expected not to move through being angry, to be honest, and actually, it was, yeah, there was a lot.
You can pick who goes next.
I'm gonna pick Dan.
I knew that was coming. So for me, like,
Can I just stop for a second? We're all protecting Mark, and I love this. Like we're all just like, oh, we'll protect Mark from the carnage of going, mate, your time is coming. I just need you to know
Trust
that.
me, there's no need to protect me, mate. I don't read books, so I spend my whole time reading. I spend my whole time reading literature. So the last thing I want to do when I get home is read a book. So mine's probably the Rainbow Serpent at the moment, because I remember reading that some year fours before I went on holiday. So that's the best I can do.
I will add it to the list.
and I concur. I'm not the biggest reader, and particularly not of fiction. And so for me, I'd much prefer to listen to a podcast like The Diary of a CEO, or dive into bits and pieces like that. I read a lot of articles through like LinkedIn and other bits and pieces and go down rabbit dives. But I did want to talk
Rabbit dives?
Rabbit dives. Yeah, why not?
Rabbit hole?
Deep dives.
Rabbit dive?
Join
Deep
those two
dive?
words together even better.
Continue. I wasn't going to let that go. Go as you were.
Thank you. Earlier this year, though, I did do some work in the coaching field. And so I was doing some professional reading in that coaching mentoring space and dived into Mindset by Carol Dweck. And the reason why I thought I might talk about it is because it actually challenged me a little bit. I've read it before, but I came back to it again this year after quite a gap. And I thought I had a really strong growth mindset, but it actually made me kind of just pause and reflect a little bit throughout, which was actually in hindsight really cool, but at the time made me a little bit anxious probably at the time. But so yeah, really diving into that difference between a growth mindset and a fixed mindset, and looking at how we develop more growth mindset, what it actually means to have growth mindset, lots of examples around where growth or fixed mindset is being shown. And I think the core message for me just is really strong, and I really resonate with the need for a growth mindset, and especially in that space of coaching and mentoring and supporting people through that kind of work. So absolutely would recommend it for people to read, and especially if you are feeling like a bit stuck in your mindset, to really be able to think differently or look differently about what some of those kind of triggers or barriers or whatnot might be. So definitely not, it's not a step-by-step guide. It doesn't tell you perfectly how to have a growth mindset, but it does prompt lots of reflection about, yeah, how to dive deeper. So on top of my kind of podcasts and articles and whatnot through social media that I will dive into, that was something that I've read this year for professional reasons. My rabbit dive.
Your rabbit dive, I like it. I also like that you've really elevated us back to like a credible space, and I appreciate that. I appreciate you bringing the brow back up, Dan. Who are we going to next?
To be fair, I wasn't expecting the comedian of Nick to be running this session.
It's
don't get me
November,
wrong.
Nick.
I love it.
Where to next, sir? You
She's
pick.
so itchy, Dan. She can't do anything else.
So true. It's a lot. Tomorrow I'm going to have this like awful rash, and everyone's going to be like, "What happened to you?"
We're going to go
Tinsel.
to Amy, and I'm going to make you last, Nick, just so that you have to sit there with the itchiness for longer.
Thanks, everybody.
Yeah.
Appreciate that.
Right. Well, if Dan brought us up, I fear it's my job to bring us all the way back down, because I did have a serious recommendation, which I'll just quickly touch on, which is The Five People You Meet in Heaven by Mitch Albom. It's the accent throws me off, but it was so good. It's about Eddie, and he's an 83-year-old man, and he dies, and he maybe didn't think much of his life or how much it impacted others, but he meets five people who he had a real influence on in his life, and it was just the most wholesome, short little read, so easy to squeeze into the holidays, but that was lovely. But my favorite recommendation to give ever is a podcast. So this one's for Mark. If you don't like reading, this one is for you. It's called, and I'm so excited to watch Nick Google this, Who Shat on the Floor at My Wedding?
Oh, I have listened to this.
It's incredible. It's a closed case podcast about a couple who get married on a boat in Amsterdam, and at the end of the night, they find a pile of shit on the floor.
Language warning.
And because they're all in the boat, it can only be so many people, and they go back and they interview guests, and they bring on submarine experts, forensic psychologists, they take a trip to the zoo, and I have never laughed so hard on my hot girl walks. I must have looked insane. The things that they come out with are incredible, and I'm not going to spoil it and let you know whether they find out who it is or not, but that has to be my favorite podcast I've ever listened to.
You're right. You took it right back down. Well done.
Yeah.
Yep. Well played.
It's my job.
It's almost like we arranged this structure perfectly.
We've planned this ahead.
Strategies 101.
I can concur. It's really, really funny. I'm pretty sure I was listening to that one year when I was driving from Adelaide out to Loxton, for our annual pilgrimage at see Trish and the team at Loxton High School for their Ignite. And it was a very fast drive listening to that one. It's good.
They do now have a second series as well about
Do
a
they?
tiny little suit that showed up on someone's door, and they go down a rabbit dive, Dan, a rabbit dive
Yeah.
down into where this tiny little suit came from, and it is just impeccable.
Okay, noted. I need to. Is this called Who Left a Tiny Suit on the Doorstep?
It's
What's
Who Shot on the Floor at My Wedding and Other Crimes.
and other crimes? Ah, fantastic. I love it. Well, I brought from the bookcase in the office, I come bearing 7 or 8 to speak to. But look, I won't go down that many rabbit dives. I'm also a little bit disappointed in us if this takes off. There's a part of me that doesn't know how I feel about rabbit dives falling into our company vernacular, but I'm going to run with it. First thing I would say is if you don't do like a Goodreads or something similar to like track your books, if you're a reader, you totally should, because it's actually like a really cool way of like looking at your reading arc. And the one thing that I would say is this year's obviously been a big year because I reckon 90% of my reading has been fiction and fantasy, which means I've been looking for significant escape from my day-to-day life in my reading choices. Whereas I find when I can read nonfiction when I'm not so cognitively heavy at work. But what I did spend a ridiculous number of pages diving into was a series by Brendan Sanderson called The Way of Kings. And there's like 7 books in it. Each of the books are like this thick. And I found myself starting one. It's this like really epic world building, if you like the old school fantasy where it's like in another world, and like the book opens up and the first thing that you have to look at is the map to work out kind of the orientation of the world. And it's got like really complex world building and like some really good storytelling across like that series. So as far as like a deep rabbit dive, like it is on epic proportions. Do you love this, Dan? How much do you love it?
I figure if I don't say anything else, that I can't have anything thrown at me.
Solid. Scratching away. So I found like that one really, really like a super fun read. And then Kate, you and I can both probably speak to like the Robert Jackson Bennett books as well. Was that on your list to like bring up too? Because that was a total highlight for me.
Yeah, I was like, can I get away with this one? Because Nick gave me the rec and then I read it.
You can.
Yeah. No, really. And I haven't read, I do love actually like opening up to the map in a book is always like, I don't know about you, but I never take it in. I look at it and go, yeah. And then I come back to it 17 times going,
Yeah.
But yeah, they were really like, and same as you, like I've been mostly reading really light books. And so whilst it wasn't heavy, like it was just so detailed, like, you know, from the first page, you were like, okay. Like this wasn't quite what I expected. And just trying to get your head around how it worked and what these different kind of groups of people were was super curious. Yeah. And as you said, like, I didn't see the twists coming necessarily.
It was like Holmes, a fantasy Sherlock and Holmes. It's like it was a really curious with some solid twists at the end. But I found myself like once I started those books, I couldn't stop reading them. Like they were like really big, deep dives. And then the other couple that I wanted to kind of bring up are people that we've kind of had the privilege of like working with this year, which I thought is kind of cool. So at the beginning of the year, before we had Shai jump in and join us, I read his book on like educate to self-regulate. And if you're an educator, I don't read, I'm going to out myself. I don't read a huge amount of education content. I really nerd out on like diverse subjects, but I don't read a lot of traditional education books. And I jumped into Shai's book earlier this year and found it really super aligned to our work as far as like our capability development stuff, but how practical the implementation was. So, you know, the theory is obviously super credible and relevant, but Shai has a really great way of taking the theory and then giving you a whole bunch of like practical strategies and tools that you can plug into the classroom. And if you were able to join us at Future Fest in Brisbane in March, you would have felt the exact same connection in his presentation style between the theory to bring the credibility of the conversation that he's talking about, but then really actionable, practical strategies that you can take straight from there into your classroom, which I think is really awesome. And the other one that I'd recommend is we did a massive call out for people to jump in and support our future Anything Grand Final with possible prizes for our young people. And what was super crazy is like the end total was something like $140 something thousand of prizes and support for our young people in this year's program, which is just nuts. And a credit to the generosity of the people who provide, stuff, but also their time to be able to make the leap for our young people between having an idea and then having something in the real world. But Alana Kilmartin reached out to me out of the blue and was like, I'm super happy to donate a big bunch of books to your young people that have made it to the grand final. And so our grand finalists had one of these books in their bags around unserious careers. And what's really cool about Alana is she's just spent the year this year road tripping around Australia, running these really engaging career conversations in schools. And I think her goal was to hit 250 schools, and she's managed to do that all around Australia. But it's a super accessible kind of book that young people can dive into, making, I guess, a little bit more lightness around the career education conversation, which I feel like for as our young people who are finishing school now, and, we have a year 12 leaver in our home too, it feels like a really heavy dialogue, right? Like everything that you're doing right now is going to change the very fabric of your future. And if you screw it up, you're screwed up forever. And so I think this ability to look at this, the multiplicity of pathways and choices and create more lightness for career conversations is a really important dialogue for us to be having. And then if I was going to talk about maybe a book that for our company has been really relevant this year, the last one that I would say is like we've dug into using OKRs in our organization. So using the work of John Doerr to talk about measure what matters and these ability to kind of sit down as a company and look at, cool, like in everything that we do, like what kind of benchmarks would we put down as critical levers for us to focus on in our work. And I would say that's been a really great thing for clarity because we do so much across so many different portfolios. And I wouldn't say our first year of implementation has been slick, but I think it's given us a degree of precision about what metrics actually matter in the work that we do. And I would, even though it's not written for education or for educators or for schools, I would definitely see value in principals and executive leadership teams thinking about the same principles in the application of paring back what's important to get really clear on what's most important for us moving forward here. Like if we cut through the noise and we just focus on these couple of key metrics that we know are going to be force multipliers for what matters in our school, let's get really clear on what matters and then build the systems and processes and structures and supports around it in order to deliver on those metrics. So I have about 12 more, but I'll stop talking.
So
Has
Nikki,
anybody got any? Yeah, go.
well, I was going to say, if fiction and fantasy is your way to escape the daily grind, for me, that has to absolutely be watching stream television shows. And so where are we going to
we're going to go
about what
really
we're
lowbrow.
watching?
Yeah, okay.
Well, no, not lowbrow. Like some good shows this year. Severance, it was quality. The Residents, if you want something that's got a bit of
The
comedy
Residents
to it,
was
it was
good.
fun.
Vote
Yeah.
The Residents.
Yeah.
Wicked, Part 2. Wicked
Amy?
for Good.
Yeah, seen it tonight.
Oh, nice.
So good. Bawled my way through it. The best. Not as light and fantasy and phantasmical and whatever fabulous words they add in all these wonderful
I'm
words.
loving the vocab. I am loving the vocab on here this afternoon, people. It is great.
We're an education company and we edumacate real good.
What do they call it when something's confusing and wicked? They say, how confusifying. And I just love these crazy words they come up with. It's so good.
It's true. It is a good one. Although I love that, Amy, you drew the line at watching the HBO special and I doubled down on watching that, which I just think might kind of say a lot about our personalities. I went and watched the movie and then came home and sat on the couch and watched the HBO Wicked special.
To be fair, I did get it all on TikTok, but it was just too cheesy for me to sit through. I knew it would be. I couldn't do it.
Oh, so funny. Yeah,
Yeah.
I haven't seen Severance, Dan.
Yeah, it's a very interesting concept. Particularly the first season I really liked. Yeah, cool show. The other one that I found really interesting, it was like a surprise, one of my surprise favorites, I suppose, in the end, is called Department Q. If anyone's ever heard of it. Yeah, so essentially it's kind of like a bit of a cold case style, kind of investigation detective quite type show. But it was a cool little surprise for me
Ooh.
that I didn't think I'd like as much as I did.
You love The Basement, though, don't you? How good's
Yeah.
The Basement? That's so good. Oh, that's how I feel in teaching sometimes. It's the things that come out of the closet that do the best, you know?
Yep. So for context there, they're thrown right down into the very basement. It's got some old kind of like toilets and bathrooms and whatnot. So that's their office for their cold cases.
Nice. What
Anybody
else?
else for TV shows? Like, what am I watching next?
Oh, the Day of the Jackal came out last year. That's awesome if you like spy kind of shows. You got Eddie Redmayne in like awesome costumes the whole time, playing this assassin that just like kind of hides himself out over the dark web, and he makes this like sniper rifle out of a carry-on suitcase. So I've tried to do that for a few FA trips, but Nick said no. Um, but yeah, and then it's like becomes a cat and mouse chase, like an MI5 agent trying to track him down, him trying to still like, and he has to chase down his clients because they're not paying him and stuff. And yeah, like kind of all boils to an ultimate really cool point. But that was a really cool show.
Who's next? Come on, what are you watching?
Of Why Women Kill. It follows three couples in three different decades that all live in the same house.
Mhm.
And that was a really fun watch. But the second season, the second season was rubbish. Only watch the first.
Noted. I'm just Googling all of the things.
100% support that one, Amy. Loved it. And like, it was another one of those where you thought you were going to hate people, but then you were like, oh, no, actually, like, this is not clear cut. Like, and someone was like, oh, I like this guy, but he's obviously going to do something bad. Yeah, it was interesting.
If you really like a character-driven series, I really like The Bear. If anyone's seen that.
My friend was telling me, yes.
Yeah.
It gives me anxiety when I watch it. Like I actually
Yeah.
think if I had an Apple Watch on, my heart rate would be racing. I genuinely, the kitchen scenes, I
Yeah.
feel we had to stop watching it before we went to bed because I actually struggled to go to sleep after it because everything is so stressful all the time that I found myself feeling more anxious going to sleep than before I started watching TV.
Yeah. I can relate to that. The acting is excellent. Yeah.
Agree. But maybe if you're prone to anxiety,
Or
space it before bedtime.
if the purpose is to escape your own life into someone else's troubles.
So shed my anxiety, but take on somebody else's. I love it. If you would like to defer your own anxiety and take on somebody else's, The Bear is the show for you. I don't know why they don't put that on the shorts. I feel like it'd sell it.
If you're looking for a neurodivergent viewpoint, you've got to watch the Good Fight. It's Elspeth Tassioni is on it, and I just love it to death. It's very good. She's left of center and totally out there, and she plays a lawyer who solves all these problems, and she's sent to kind of look at the police force and do these, and she's in the background all the time, just kind of doing ditzy things all the time. It's just it ends up solving the day, which is it's a lovely watch. So and the season's 3 seasons long. I haven't finished it yet, but looking forward to watching the end of it. It's a scream.
Oh, cool. All right, I got that one down.
I'm going to end on one more. If you are older, like me, you remember Martin Short and Steve Martin, Only Murders in the Building is kind of fun.
That
I mean, it came up straight away.
They
Yeah, Dan, I've watched that one too. It's great.
I feel like with Selena Gomez in it, it makes it like a little bit more relevant to.
Yeah.
I've heard it's amazing.
I didn't know how you were going to finish that sentence then. Like, That's great. I'm
Didn't they
trying
do
to
a
find that one.
fully silent episode, like no dialogue in it, in like the first season?
Mm.
Yeah. Yeah, kind
If you're
of.
looking for really quality TV, I strongly suggest all 7 seasons of Buffy the Vampire Slayer. There's a musical episode, and that's very good. Also, Hush, the episode where the gentlemen come, that's also somewhat silent. Also, highly recommend. So 7 seasons to choose from. It's on Disney Plus. If you want my login to kind of access my Disney Plus because you want to watch Buffy, I'm happy to support that. Strongly recommend.
I would
Yeah,
like to
I'm
do
not
a
sad about this.
quiz whether there's
Man, I'm
like
so glad you're so highbrow, mate.
I know, right? If only people knew the what's behind the scenes, Mark, when you work with Future Anything.
the
I'm
question is,
holding
does
up the
every
place, Mark.
woman have a vampire series that they're obsessed with? I
That's
don't
true.
mean to gender it, but I feel like mine would be the Vampire Diaries. So
I didn't get into that. What was the other one that was really big? Like True Blood? Was that like a
yeah,
thing? Yeah, I
Mm.
definitely
yeah.
did like True Blood for a period of time.
Mhm.
Yeah,
So I feel like
yeah.
there's one for every generation. You just gotta like. I must admit, Vampire Diaries was younger than me, but I got into it late, and yeah, that also 7 series, I believe.
So everybody playing at
I,
home,
I'm
they're
so
actually doing
old.
a remake of Buffy. So, if you missed the first 7, like there is an entirely new reboot coming with Sarah Michelle Gellar in it for anyone that's interested. So I'll be setting up watch parties.
Yeah,
Feel
Nick,
free
I'm
to
so
join in.
old. I'm so old. I'm going na 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 jin, jin, na 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 na. That's what when you're talking about vampires, that's where I'm going. So,
That's
it's a good
okay.
series too, right?
Yeah.
Just maybe a little older.
No, I feel like this works. It's solid. Solid as a rock.
Don't
But a
worry.
classic.
Before Buffy, Nick was really into Bewitched.
I actually wasn't, Dan, but I would love that you wanted to like slight me there. Who was in that though? I mean, that was the like, wasn't it the nose thing? And then yeah, so funny, Daniel, so funny. All right, I'm bringing
I'm
us back for the
impressed you even
last.
knew about it, Dan.
He's really old, Mark. Holding
You
it
the
all together
oldest or
here.
you, Nick?
Actually, we're the same year, but
Yeah,
I
but
think
who
Dan's
pips it?
birthday's before, so that makes
Oh, you're the oldest. Hmm.
dadding with
Yeah,
Dan,
that's correct.
granddadding with Dan. So good. All right, last recommendations. Anybody for like a holiday read, watch, or listen? I think we've covered some solid choices here. Has anybody read Florence Knapp's The Names? If I was going to put a book on the list. So the premise of the book is that it starts with a woman who has a son. She's already got a daughter. And then the story is told in like 3 different versions of the future of the child, depending on the name that the child is given. And so it plays out, the kid's life plays out differently pending the decision making that goes into the naming of the son. And so her partner has this like her husband, all of the boys in that family are called a name. So in one version of the story, she follows that family tradition and calls the son the same naming convention as the father. In another one, she chooses the name that she most wanted to call him. And then in the third version, she names him what his older, like the little girl who's, a toddler at the time, the name that she picks for him. And then it plays out versions of their lives based on the names. I think it's a debut novel, but from the author, and it is like magic to dive into. It's like a really good one. Trigger warning though, there's some domestic violence kind of themes that sit within it, but it's a really amazing read.
Yeah, sounds super interesting. They've done like Freakonomics has looked into the impact of naming on children, and there's some like really interesting studies that like track. I think the most interesting one was what were they called? There might have been like one son called Sinner and one called Justice, and then they kind of like ended up in their careers as like Sinner became a really successful police officer and Justice became a really successful drug dealer. So it was kind of like bucking the trend of what your parents gave you. So yeah, the naming effect thing is interesting. I think it's mostly colloquial evidence, but there's some interesting stories.
I just found that podcast episode from Freakonomics about the naming stuff. That's cool.
Yeah.
I'm super glad I've already named my children. That's, that's not something you want to do when you're pregnant. You would never choose.
So true. Any others? Final recommendations?
I'm still
Yeah, if
just
you want to get on the
with
fantasy train, get into
Yes. Red
um,
Rising. Tell me
get into
more.
Red Rising. It's super cool. It's like if you take Hunger Games, you fuse it with Marxism and anti-capitalism and taking over society.
Oh, it's a
And a little bit
series.
of extra violence in there too. Ratchet up the violence from Hunger Games. And this author's like and you set it all in space and on Mars, and that's what you get. He's like the master of the cliffhanger, so you can't really not read it in like a day or a weekend because just man, the pace will just keep coming. You got to find out what happens to the character. Boom, boom, boom. And then this one's very much like kind of like Hunger Games set up the first novel, contained worlds, kind of battle for
So good.
survival. And then as the series goes on, lots of range for your sci-fi.
All right. Putting it on my list along with some cream for my itch. What up?
I love that Jared actually went to another recommendation. I was still just completely enamored with our cohesion and our synergy and how well we are presenting as a team.
It's true.
The
Yeah.
vocab drops.
18. Yeah. Can I drop another one? Kate, did you end up reading Wild Dark Shore by Charlotte McConaughey? Well, okay, another debut novel. It's set like in what feels like the Tasmanian wilderness, and it's like this woman washes up on a beach, and it's like the story of how she got there, and like it's this island where the only residents on it are kind of caretakers of the island. And so anyway, it's again debut novel. Reese Witherspoon's book club just picked it up. So I think they're, turning it into all sorts of other like media forms afterwards. But that and The Names were two books that I read and just kind of absorbed. And like the writing of the scenery is really beautiful. If you like Robbie Arnott, who's another Australian writer, he's quite a lyrical kind of writer. And this writing around that sort of the harshness and the remoteness of this landscape is like really beautifully put together as well. I'm just bringing the brow back up.
That's a
Dan.
nice finish. Yeah.
Yeah. Well, I really have to get out of this tinsel. Tinsel Nick needs to untinsel for this afternoon. So thank you to our raging crowd for our last live learning. Just the total, we had so many people in this session that it was actually difficult to fit everybody in the Zoom room. So oversubscribed was it this afternoon. So I think what we'll do is give Mark a big round of applause on behalf of the team for being.
It was great to be here. Happy Christmas to you all and enjoy yourselves. Love your work. So keep it up.
Awesome. Happy Christmas, Mark. Take big care. All right. Thank you, everyone, for joining us for our last live learning of the year. We hope wherever you are, you're winding into a well-deserved break after a massive 2025. On behalf of all of us at the Future Anything team, we just want to thank you for working with us and joining us on this journey to make education a little bit better for young people one day at a time. Merry Christmas.
Merry Christmas.